Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for sticking to the time. Let us begin with the next working session on the topic of Muslim law. I hereby welcome Advocate Syed Mehtab Ahmed Hussaini, Qazi sir. Sir will be chairing the panel discussion. Sir was born in Mumbai. Sir is BA Honours and he has pursued his LLB from New Law College, Matunga. Sir has been practicing since last 31 years. I welcome you, sir. Next panelist, Honorable Advocate Faisal Nasiruddin Qazi sir. Sir has been practicing since last 30 years at Kalyan District Court and he has been teaching also at Thane Law College for last 30 years. I welcome you, sir. Our last panelist, Advocate Afreen Khan. Madam is BA LLB Honours from AME College. She is LLM in Access to Justice TISS. She is currently practicing with Bombay High Court and Trial Courts. Madam is also a Director Human Rights Law Network, Mumbai. Madam, before coming to practice, Madam was in R&D. I welcome you, Madam. I request Qazi sir to take the mic.
Honorable Bhandari Sahab, Qadi Sahab, then Faisal Qadi Sahab, Khan Madam, and most of the people they have gone, it seems. But before I start my talk, it's my duty to convey my thanks and gratitude, especially to my President of Family Court Bar Association, Mr. Shashi Nair, then Shraddha Dalvi, Hangana Madam, and all the persons who are connected with Family Court and today's function. Naturally, you must have heard about law and everything, and now we are here, three persons are there. And we will be taking about 15 minutes each person and we will talk about different laws of the Muslims. I will begin with the Islam, the Muslims, and how many laws are there for the marriages and divorces. Then it will be continued by Qadi Sahab and Madam Khan, Afreen Khan. In Islam, when we call Muslim, there is a very big, vast differences. There is two. That is, one sect is called Sunni sect, and another sect is called Shia sect. Then again, there are branches. As far as Sunnis are concerned, in Sunni there are 4 sects are there: Hanafi, Shafi'i, Hanbali, and Maliki. These are the schools of thought which have come later in Islam. Now in India, there are only 2, Hanafi and Shafi. Hanbalites and Malikites are not in India, they are in Arab world, Arab countries, I mean to say. In Shias, there are differences there, that the branches are there. That is Khoja, Hori, Mughals, Irani, and other people also. Now all these people, they have their own laws as far as marriage is concerned, as far as divorce is concerned. Now I begin with marriage. That is nikah. Now, as far as marriage is concerned between the Muslim wife and the Muslim husband, it's a civil contract. It has nothing to do with religion. It is purely a contract between the husband and the wife, where the husband takes responsibility that he will maintain his wife, providing her food, shelter and clothing properly as a gentle and humble husband. Similarly, the wife's responsibility is to serve the husband lovingly, lawfully, carefully, and taking care of the husband and as well as the entire family, that is in-laws. Now, nikah is very different among Shias and Sunnis. As far as nikah with Shias are concerned, if they are khoja, they have to go to their own group. And as far as khojas are concerned, at the time of nikah only, they take in writing from them that in case of any dispute, they cannot go to the court of law. They cannot go to any qazi. They have to come back to the khoja committee, court, and board will decide about their problems. Similarly, Sunnis have got different. In Sunnis, there are Hanafis, Shafi'is, Hanbalis and Malikis. Then again there are branches. In Sunnis and Hanafis, there are Deobandi, there are Barelvi, there are different kinds of. Now, nikah is to be performed. As I said, it's a contract between the husband and wife. And in Muslims, you must have observed that at the time of nikah, the ladies are not allowed to sit along with the husband. They have to appoint a wakil-e-nikah who give her, as we do in Kanyadan in Hinduism, इस तरह से कन्यादान करते हैं, उसी तरह से वो वकील-ए-निकाह जो है वो उस अपनी मौलकिला को, क्लाइंट को, वो हस्बैंड के निकाह में देता है. सॉरी आई बी लिटिल बिट हिंदी एंड उर्दू एंड इंग्लिश. तो इस तरह से ये होता है. सिमिलरली इन बोराज में एंड खोजाज में, आई थिंक neither of the husband or the wife, they don't sit. Their wakil-e-nikah, they appoint their mullahs, two mullahs, right?
We also sit in the marriage.
Yeah.
Husband and wife, but we are separate.
Separate, not with the husband, that's what I mean to say. And those mullahs, they give an offer, give and take. It is called ijab or kubul. Ijab and kubul. That means the husband, the wife has to say that I give you in your marriage, and husband has to say kabul, 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 right? And no qazi is required. Though I am a qazi, one qazi is sitting. But I will be very frank. As far as marriage of the Muslim is concerned, एक वो है कि नहीं, काजी नहीं होगा तो निकाह नहीं होता है. It is not correct. The nikah mainly is to be performed in the presence of two Muslim witnesses. जितनी witnesses की कदर है उतनी काजी की नहीं है. The role of the काजी now, काजी in previous days in Mughal period और उससे पहले they were the judges. Even today in Arab countries, the qadis are judges. But here now, the role of the qadi is only to solemnize nikah and to go for talaq, nothing else. No other right he has. By name qadi साहब हैं, मैं तो काम का qadi हूँ, सब नाम के qadi हैं. But then we come to talaq. As far as triple talaq is concerned, Qadi Sahib will speak on that. I would like to inform everybody there are different types of talaq. We are talking only about triple talaq. Now triple talaq is banned. We cannot say anything about triple talaq now because there are rules, there are laws that passed against the triple talaq. But as far as talaq is concerned, there are different types of talaq. Number one, talaq-e-raj'i. That is pehli talaq. It is called one talaq. Second talaq is talaq-e-baina. Talaq-e-bain. Okay. And third talaq is talaq-e-mughallada, or we call it talaq-e-bidat. Now, the difference between all these three divorces is that in case if a husband gives pehli talaq-e-raj'i, that is pehli talaq, so it is revocable. The board, not only board, the husband has got every right to revoke that talaq by just saying that wife कि मैंने तुझे अपने में वापस लिया. That ends. That talaq is revoked. It is said that it should be within the period of iddat. Now iddat is the period of somebody says 90 days, somebody says 100 days, and somebody says 3 tahur. Tahur means when the ladies are clean and all that. Menstrual. Now, पहली तलाक रजई में यह होता है कि अक्सर एक तलाक देने में अगर आदमी को समझ आ गई, औरत को भी समझ आ गई, तो एटलीस्ट वो लोग एक दूसरे से मिल सकते हैं बगैर निकाह पढ़ाए. इट इज नॉट नेसेसरी टू गो फॉर निकाह अगेन. नो, ओनली द हस्बैंड हैज गॉट एवरी राइट टू टेक हर बैक इन हिज मैरिज और इन हिज लाइफ बाय सेइंग कि मैंने खत्म किया, कम बैक. दिस इज फर्स्ट तलाक. द सेकंड तलाक इज बाइन, which we call talaq-e-baina. Somebody we call it talaq-e-bain. Talaq-e-bain is a talaq where within the period of iddat or out of the period of iddat no halala is required. I think I'll come on the halala next afterwards. But no halala is required. Both of them, in case if they agree, they can go to a qazi, they can call a qazi, and again in the presence of two Muslim witnesses, they can perform their marriage without going for halala. So this was talaq-e-baina. Then we come to triple talaq. It is called talaq-e-mughallada, or we can call it talaq-e-bidat. Now, actually there is third divorce, where if consequently this divorce has taken place, एक तलाक एक महीने में हो गई, after one period or after 1 month दूसरी तलाक हो गई, and after one more इद्दत period, महीना तीसरी तलाक हो गई, तो उसके बाद में they cannot remarry with each other. It is the law. Now this law has nothing to do with Quran. Nothing is mentioned in Quran. Quran has mentioned only talaq-e-marratan, that is 2 talaq. Now 3 talaq होने के बाद में some Muslim sects which are pure Sunni Aqidah, they will say no, now you both cannot remarry. And there is one more firqa sect which is called Ahle Hadith. In Ahle Hadith, they don't consider 3 talaq, 100 talaq or 50 talaq. In one sitting, if 3 divorces are given, as far as they are concerned, it is only 1 talaq. And they can remarry again. But as far as Sunnis are concerned, before them, if the third talaq has taken place, then they both cannot remarry again. Now this I am talking where the talaq is given as per the law. एक तलाक दिया, फिर 1 महीने बाद तलाक दिया, फिर 1 महीने बाद तलाक दिया. We have to discuss about triple talaq, which has been followed by some husbands in fits of anger, like talaq, talaq, talaq de diya. So it's not fair. We don't consider it as a fair, and now the law has changed. Now triple talaq is bad. Qadi Sahib will say about this thing. I come to the conclusion. I would say that there is some misunderstanding about marriage, about nikah, about talaq in Muslims. But frankly speaking, if the divorce takes place in Islam or in Muslims, two people, they get separated very easily. As far as other non-Muslims are concerned, my observation is that non-Muslim ladies, they are fighting in the court of law, and they have to ruin their life. But in case, if the talaq is taking place between a husband and a wife, Muslim, then they can go for it. Now, what type of talaq is there? See, one talaq is which is called unilateral divorce. Unilateral divorce is given by the husband as per his own will, wish, desire. He can send the talaq along with the notice of the lawyer in the presence of two witnesses. That is called talaq. One talaq is called khula talaq, where the lady, where the wife can claim, can demand khula talaq from the husband, and in case if she is not happy with that marital life. But then in that case she has to forego, she has to withdraw all her claims, all her, like meher, iddat. Iddat means 3 months and 10 days maintenance. But in case if the husband is given one talaq, he cannot remove her from her house till iddat period. Till iddat period, she can remain in the house, in the matrimonial house, and he has to maintain her. Number one. But in case if she goes to her parents' house, then they have to, the husband has to provide maintenance to her. I'm not talking about children, Shakadi will come to them. Then there is talaq-e-mubarra. Talaq-e-mubarra is where both husband and wife, they come together and they say, we want to get divorce from each other. Like consent, like we file consent divorce in courts. That is called talaq-e-mubarra. Now there is one more talaq, which is not there in India at all. And I can say there is no, even in other countries I have not observed. It is called talaq-e-tafweez. Talaq-e-tafweez is there in Mohammedan law, in Muslim Shariat law, where the right of the divorce is given to the wife or any other person to declare divorce. In that case, the husband has no right to divorce her, which will not be accepted. If he gives either at the time of nikah, they can take down from him talaq-e-tafweez. In this concern, मुझे एक वाकया याद आया. You won't believe. One of my father's friend, very old man, he wanted to get his daughter married with a person who was working in Dubai. And he was from Indore. Sorry, from Kanpur. Kanpur. Very hefty fellow. Even I was there. My assistant was, I'm a Qazi also. My assistant was performing the nikah. So I just called that man and I told him, this I'm talking about talaq-e-tafweez. I called him and I said, अभी तुम्हारी बेटी की तलाक हम लोग ने करवाई पहले हस्बैंड से, बड़ी मुसीबत से, जान बचा के आपकी बच्ची बची है. अब आप ये बहस इतने बड़े उसको दे रहे हो पैसे को, क्या करेंगे? You won't believe. I was in his house. My assistant was solemnizing this marriage. He told me, आप निकाह के लिए आए कि तलाक कराने आए? I gave him good advice that you take talaq tafweed in writing from this man. So in future there will be no problem for you. So that is the talaq tafweed, which is the right given by the husband to the wife. Then one more talaq is there which is called talaq bishart. The condition. Talaq bishart means the husband declared कि अगर तू मेरे घर के बाहर निकली तो तेरे पे तलाक. That was take place in Muslim. So we will say कि ये तो बहुत ज्यादा जुल्म है, ऐसा है, but it is there. It is called talaq bishart. And most of the things which I would like to declare here, in Islam, there is no concept of dahej. Yeah. This we have adopted, we have taken from India. Otherwise, in Arab countries, the husband has to pay whatever the father of the wife demands. So, it is called meher. Now, meher is also a different type of meher. One is meher muajjal, one is meher mawajjal. One is meher indil talab, and one is meher naqd ada shuda, which in English if you say, there are only two words. Meher, prompt meher or deferred meher. Either you pay it at the time of nikah or you pay it at the later stage. इसमें भी बड़े बड़े प्रॉब्लम्स होते हैं. एक जगह मैं निकाह पढ़ाने गया, हम थोड़ा बहुत मजाक भी कर रहा हूँ. एक पता मैं निकाह पढ़ाने गया था. अभी हम लोगों में तो ऐसा मैं कबूल किया. तो जब कादी निकाह पढ़ाता है तो कादी जो वकील निकाह होता है, जो कन्यादान कर रहा होता है, उसको बोलता है, बोलो दूल्हे को, क्या है फला बिन फला, मैंने मेरी मौकला को आपके निकाह में दिया और आप बोलो मैंने कबूल किया. तो निकाह पढ़ाया मैंने. निकाह पढ़ा के दूल्हे को बोला, वो वकील ने निकाह को बोला, उनको ऐसा बोलो, और दूल्हे को बोला आप बोलो मैंने कबूल किया. वो बोले हाँ आपने कबूल किया. क्या आपने कबूल किया? अरे भाई मैंने नहीं, तुमने कबूल. हाँ बोले आपने कबूल किया. तो बोलो मैंने कबूल किया. तो ये होता है. मेरा ऐसा नजरिया है कि आजकल मैं एंड कर रहा हूँ, आज के जमाने में तलाक की जो रेशियो है, आइदर इन इस्लाम, इन हिंदुइज्म, इन नॉन मुस्लिम, बढ़ती जा रही है. Who is responsible? If I say that the ladies are responsible, मारेंगे सब पकड़ के. Because मेरी नानियां और दादियां जो थी, मेरी खुद की शादी को 52 साल हो गए, इसलिए बोल रहा हूँ. And it was a love marriage. I would like to say that. इसी तरह से जब हमारी नानियां और दादियां थी, आदमी उस वक्त भी बदमाश था, आज भी बदमाश है. डोंट फील बैड सर. मेरे जैसे देखिए, ऐसा है कि उस जमाने में औरतों की एक थिंकिंग थी. अगर वो मुस्लिम औरत है तो वो ये सोच के निकाह करके जाती थी कि ये मेरा क्या बोलते हैं सर, मजादी खुदा है. ये मेरा मजादी खुदा है. मजादी खुदा मतलब ये कि ये खुदा की तरह है. नौजुबिल्ला, खुदा तो नहीं होता है. और मैं इसके घर से निकलूंगी मर के तो सीधा जन्नत में जाऊंगी. सिमिलरली हिंदू में जो पुरानी हमारी नादियां दादियां थी, उनकी थिंकिंग ये थी कि ये मेरा पति परमेश्वर है और ये मेरा पति परमेश्वर, अगर मैं इसके घर से मर के निकली तो मैं सीधा स्वर्ग में जाऊंगी. ये सब बदलता जा रहा है क्योंकि लोगों की सोच बदल रही है। आज के नौजवान लड़के लड़कियां, आप यकीन मानो मैं अपनी बात को ख़त्म करता हूँ, ये बड़ा दुख होता है। मैं एक कोर्ट में बैठा हुआ था, जज ने पूछा, हाँ भाई कितने साल हुए शादी को? बोले साहब 6 महीने हो गए। अच्छा अच्छा 6 महीने हो गए? हाँ। ये क्या था, लव मैरिज थी क्या? हाँ लव मैरिज। लव करने से हुआ था 8 साल हो गए। 8 साल लव चला लेकिन 6 महीने की शादी नहीं चली। प्लीज वी ऑल आर रिस्पॉन्सिबल। थैंक यू सो मच।
May I invite Gazi sir to come here? Or if it is comfortable for you to sit there and have a session.
Chairman and office bearer and the committee members of Bar Association of Family Court Mumbai, my brother and sister advocates from legal fraternity, a very good afternoon to all of you.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
After having a sumptuous lunch, when one is forced to listen to something, it becomes a bit awkward position. But my predecessor speaker has made the things rather easier to me after having a bit humorous sessions with you. This is my turn to tell something about Muslim law insofar as it relates to women and some aspect of the law which are perhaps not very well known to even we the practicing advocates. After triple divorce became obsolete with the ruling of the Supreme Court of India, people now come asking to me, if at all a husband is to unilaterally divorce his wife, whether there is any way out for him. Triple divorce is gone, it has been criminalized also, and it's something which has become a thing of past. It is better not to discuss it because it is not going to help us in our knowledge anymore, you see. Criminalization of triple divorce is something on which I would like to talk at the end of this, but then let me be a bit elaborative with respect to the other forms of divorce to which my predecessor speaker, Mr. Mehtab Qazi, has referred to. Now, what exactly is the form of divorce which is known to Muslim law? You see, we have been fed so much on triple divorce that we consider it to be the only form of divorce or the only type of divorce known to Mohammedan law. That a person utters the formula thrice and it brings about an instantaneous dissolution of his marital tie with his wife. Well, the law on the subject is not such. As a teacher of Muslim law for last 30 years, let me have this opportunity to be a bit elaborative and tell my audience as to what exactly the law relating to divorce is when it comes to Muslim law. Matrimonial tie, to begin with, is considered to be what we call in Arabic misaq-e-ghalis. And misaq-e-ghalis indicate a bond which is solid enough, a bond which happens to be quite strong in itself. When one takes a particular person into his marital tie, from that time onwards, it is made known to both of them that you have entered into a relationship which happens to be the very backbone of the human society, so to say. The beginning of marital life ought to be with a clear understanding of the purpose of the marriage, and it needs to be told to both of them about their obligations as well as about their right. Misaq Ghaliz or a solid contract or a strong bond between the two will indicate that the very purpose for which they have been together is with a solemn assurance before the God that they will continue to be together unless something happens which will make their living together virtually impossible. Divorce was something which came into the body of law as a necessary evil, so to say. One cannot rule out from the body of the law the very concept of divorce. For there may be fortunate people who will go on with their marriage for all times to come. But there may be people who, due to some reason or the other, may find it difficult to go on with the times. It is at this juncture that it becomes necessary to come out with a law which will put an end humanely to their relationship. Now, what is the Muslim law on the point to be a bit elaborative? What is the practice to be followed and what should be the ultimate result of it, so to say? Now, the practice of the Prophet was such, and if you recollect, Dabru Chotu Pathan, a case decided on Muslim law, Justice Marulpalli. In that very judgment of his, he has referred to the precautions to be taken as per the requirements of Quranic verses before a husband can be allowed to divorce his wife. Whenever a matrimonial discord is reported, one arbiter, or what we call as a pancha, will be appointed from either side. This is how the tackling is done, you see. Now we are having what we call as marriage counsellors. As in when a matrimonial dispute comes to a court of law, before the court takes an initiative in the matter is referred to the what we call as counsellors. And they try their level best in order to see to it, in order to bring the couple to a common ground. Now this is precisely what the arbiters under Muslim law, we call them hakam, are required to do. As and when a marital discord comes to the notice of the family, the appropriate course to be one arbiter from the side of the husband and another arbiter from the side of the wife. And they too will try to see to it, to explore possibility of bringing them together. What are the differences? What is the cause of difference? Most of the time it has been so noticed that the beginning happens to be due to very small reason, due to something very ticklish, so to say. But the firefighting exercise does not start then. Fire is allowed to spread so much so that ultimately the people fall apart. So arbiters will be appointed in order to see to it if the parties can be brought together, they will not leave any stone unturned in order to bring them together. It is only when the arbiters' endeavor fail that the husband will have to take a considered decision in the matter. Divorce cannot be at the drop of the head. A misaq ghaliz, a solid bond, a strong bond cannot be brought to end without taking a considered decision in the matter. That is the intent and purpose of the Muslim law. Arbiters will have to be employed into service. If their endeavor fail, then it is for the husband to go for divorce. And what is the law of divorce known to Muslim law? Triple divorce? Not at all. I do not find any sanctity to this particular procedure of law, either from the Quran, which happens to the paramount source of Muslim law, or from the Sunnah of the Prophet, which happens to be the second source of Islamic law. I will again elaborate as to how triple divorce came into being. What Quran says on the point, कि if you have to divorce your wife, divorce them for the period of iddat. What does that imply? If a person has to exercise this unwanted exercise, this is something which is called as abghadul madah, abghadul mubah, most disliked among the permitted things, This is what the Quranic terminology is there for the talaq. That is something which is not required to be resorted to merely for the sake of resorting to it. In extremely unavoidable cases where the bringing together with the living together is just not possible, then only to resort to it, and then again, it is not that you will simply say divorce and the marital tie will come to an end. No. The law on the point is she will be divorced for the period of iddat. Iddat is roughly 3 months. And when she is divorced for the period of iddat, that implies that here is a pronouncement which has been made and which is not going to take effect immediately. It is not that moment the word is pronounced, that marital relationship will come to an end. No. This is merely a sort of resolve expressed by the husband that I have made up my mind to divorce you, and towards that end I am making this pronouncement. But with this pronouncement the marital tie does not come to an end. She continued to reside along with you and share the very same household where you are. The only distinction is there will be abstinence from the sexual intercourse. The husband and the wife will not have any marital relationship. To be more clear, sexual relationship between the two. But the wife during the course of iddah will continue to share the household of the husband. This particular period, to my mind, is very significant one. Kindly appreciate the pronouncement is made. You happen to be under the same roof, so to say, and you are now visualizing a situation which is going to come after the lapse of iddah, after the lapse of 3 months or so. You have an opportunity. The process has started, but it has not reached the culmination. But it is likely to reach the culmination after the end of period of iddah. So this is a further period provided to the husband and wife, both of them, that you are going to get divorced from each other. What is going to happen? What lies in future for you? What is going to be the adverse effect, if any, on your children? So this particular period of 3 months is something which is required to be, so to say, utilized by the parties in order to explore the possibility of coming together. I draw a parallel from our matrimonial laws as applicable in the court. Moment the petition for consensual divorce is filed, it is not immediately entertained. We have a 6 months cooling period. If that is indeed a cooling period as known to Muslim law, the law does not require the parties to act in haste. The law wants the party to take a decision after taking into consideration all the pros and cons of the matter. And within this 3 months, if they come together, nothing like that. And the husband is required to do nothing more than, either by his conduct or by spoken words, he is simply required to withdraw the pronouncement made by him. So during continuance of iddah, if the pronouncement of talaq is withdrawn, either by conduct or by words spoken or written, the marital tie, the marital relationship resumes afresh. But then this is required to be done before expiry of iddat, which I said is roughly 3 months' time. Now let's go further. 3 months' time is over, the pronouncement of divorce is not withdrawn. What happens? The marriage does come to an end. But whether there is any possibility of reviving this marriage? The answer is yes. The parties to the marriage can come together by entering into a fresh proposal and acceptance of nikah. So this is the law which is known to Muslim law, what we call as talaq-e-ahsan, or the most approved, the most proper form of the divorce. This was exactly the procedure or the mode of dissolution as known to Quran. Now, how many times this liberty can be exercised by the husband? Say, for example, once in my life, may God forbid, I have given divorce to my wife. I cannot, and I will not, hopefully. Let me call it A gives divorce to his wife, and that too this particular mode. Talaq given for the period of iddat. Iddat lapses, he doesn't withdraw the pronouncement, the marriage comes to an end, they contract a fresh marriage, they again enter into the marital life. इस बात को थोड़ा समझिए. This is something which needs to be understood very clearly. This is something which we are not taking, I am not speaking out of the statute book. This is something from the statute book only. Only thing is that our attention has not gone to that aspect of the matter. You have revived the marriage, you have revived your marital tie by entering into a fresh marriage. Now again, some years later, some times later, a matrimonial discord erupts between the party afresh. Likelihood is less, but let us talk in terms of an extreme case, where even after revival of their marital tie with the help of a fresh nikah, they came together, and after a couple of years or so, they again fell apart. Now again the husband has divorced the wife for a second time for the period of iddat. Kindly appreciate, एक phase हो चुका. Now I am on the second phase. They resume their marital tie after entering into a fresh nikah. Now again a discord has occasion between the two, and he has pronounced divorce to her for the period of iddat. Again the very same thing. You are there together under the very same roof. The sexual relationship has come to an end because of the pronouncement. The pronouncement continues to be revocable this time as well during the continuance of iddat. Make up your mind. You have divorced her for a second time, and the law is liberal enough to allow you a room for reconciliation during the period of iddat. So that if at all you can come together even after making a second pronouncement, the law is not closing the door on you. The law instead is allowing room to you to come together. And if you can come together within iddat period, nothing like that. But once the iddat is over, again divorce takes effect, marital tie comes to an end. But this is second time that you have repudiated your wife. Law is magnanimous enough to provide you yet another opportunity of coming together by reviving your marital tie by entering into a nikah for a second time, rather third time. First the earlier one, the another one at the time of the first divorce, now the third at the time of second divorce. So दो मर्तबा हो गया. There is no prescribed spacing. In the lifetime it may occur. First divorce, second divorce, maybe within a span of 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, whatever. This liberty is available to you on 3 times. On a third time, if this very exercise is resorted to, you are required to be extremely cautious. Because with the third pronouncement not being withdrawn, the marital tie is going to come to an end for all the times to come. This was the law, and this is the law known to Islam, so to say. So kindly appreciate, the endeavor was to see to it that the marriage lasts. It does not come to an end, and therefore once, twice and thrice. But at the same time, anxiety is, you should not reduce the marriage to a plaything. You must not reduce the marriage to a child's toy which can be broken and remade every now and then. That was the practice with the pagan Arabs. That they used to repudiate their wife and take them back into the marital tie, and ये खेल चलता रहता था for umpteen number of times. In order to put an end to this unhealthy practice, it was allowed for the 3 times. And thereafter a full stop, your wife will be no more yours, and you won't be her husband for any further. अब ये होता कैसा है कि irrevocable divorce कब हो जाएगा? जब third time the divorce will be pronounced and they won't be coming together. Then only the divorce becomes irrevocable. Now they are no more husband and wife. Now there is no liberty of entering into a fresh nikah or fresh contract of marriage. Now this is what the law is on the point. लेकिन अब इसमें होता क्या है, you do not get an instant result. Kindly appreciate. Divorce doesn't come to an, marriage doesn't come to an end with the pronouncement. And the people are more eager enough in order to get a quick result. And to get that quick result, a new formula came to be old, what we precisely call as triple divorce. लॉगिवर का एक्सपेक्टेशन क्या है, आपने 3 प्रोनाउंसमेंट को एट अ टाइम नहीं कहना है. 3 pronouncements are required to be made with necessary spacing, and if at all the occasion demands, if at all the need arises. But in order to get a quick fire solution to your matrimonial problem, which to your mind was nothing other than dissolution, you resorted to repeating this formula thrice instantly in one phase only. And having done that, you have foreclosed on you all those avenues of reconciliation which were ensured to you under the law. Triple divorce was not known to Quran. Triple divorce was not known to the practice of the Prophet, what we call as Sunnah. ये तो Prophet के करीब 100 बरस बाद में something which came to be innovated by the people. ट्रिपल डिवोर्स के लिए व्याख्या इस्तेमाल होती है तलाकुल बिदा. Sunnah denotes practice of the Prophet, and bidat happens to be a departure from his practice. Sunnah and bidat, they happen to be opposite of each other. The day triple divorce came into being, from that day onward it was called as triple talaqul bidat. The procedure recommended by the Prophet was talaqul sunnah, and the opposite of it was talaqul bidat. लेकिन तलाकुल बिदा का खोटा सिक्का ये मार्केट में इतना चल गया कि बाद में उस खोटे सिक्के को खरेपना प्राप्त हो गया. And that is the reason we did not hear about the other valid and proper forms of the divorce. What we have been fed with is triple divorce. बाद के लोगों ने असल जो तरीका तलाक था उसको छोड़ दिया. And since triple divorce was easier to give, easier to follow, was providing a quick fire solution to the problem, they resorted to it. And this went on for centuries together. Not for decades, but centuries together. और ये खोटा सिक्का जो है इतनी बार चला कि उसी को ही खरा सिक्का समझा जाने लगा. The legislature would have stepped in at the earliest, but it did not happen, maybe because of the pressure from the various quarters, and ultimately it became for the Supreme Court to came down heavily on this practice of divorce which was not known to Islam. Today's point is to elaborate on the true procedure of divorce as known to Muhammad. And if that true procedure to which I have referred to is followed, I believe it will take care of the various ills which are afflicting the matrimonial discord between husband and wife. Coming to the consensual divorce, to which Mehtab Sahab has referred to in his speech delivered before mine, he has referred to khula, he has referred to mubarra, and he has referred to delegated divorce. These are the again 3 various forms of the divorce which are required to be understood and put into practice, because they are having an element of consent in themselves. Talaq is a unilateral act on the part of the husband without the wife being a party to it or not being a party to it. But in case of khula, in case of mubarra, or in case of delegated divorce, wife is essentially a party to it. मुझसे कभी पूछा जाता था लेक्चर्स के बीच में कि जिस तरह से हस्बैंड अपनी वाइफ को डिवोर्स दे सकता है, क्या वाइफ भी अपनी हस्बैंड को डिवोर्स दे सकती है? And will be surprised to know the answer is yes. Khula, which is the form of the divorce which works in favor of the wife, is something which is unknown even to the Muslim wife. If at all she wants to come out from a matrimonial tie which is not to her liking, which is imposed upon her, or which by the passage of time has become absolutely meaningless, the law allows her freedom to come out of this marital tie. She may propose to the husband, कि no, I do not want to continue with this marital tie, I want to come out of it. And a proposal for her release, if given by her, the husband is bound to accept it. The husband is required to accept it. Only thing is that he may put some conditions. कि I am obliged to pay you the dower. Kindly release me from this particular obligation of mine so that I accept your proposal for releasing you from my marital tie. So that way the things can be worked out. If the parties to the marriage are of the view that they do not want to go on with this marital tie. Mubarra, on the other hand, is something which is taking place with the mutual aversion of the two. Where the wife and husband together have decided, no, we do not want to continue with this marriage. And finally, the delegated divorce or talaq-e-tafweez, I believe a very important and useful provision of Muslim law which needs to be employed even at the time when the parties enter into a nikah. A couple of years ago, I came across a nikahnama prepared by All India Muslim Personal Law Board, wherein an agreement was incorporated, certain clauses were incorporated, कि if my husband treats me with cruelty, physical or mental, or if my husband does not provide me maintenance for a certain duration of time, or if my husband does this or that, then I'll be entitled to get myself out of this marital tie by exercising delegated divorce. ये पावर ऑफ अटॉर्नी जैसा हमारे यहाँ होता है, लगभग उसी प्रकार का मामला है. एक प्रिंसिपल ने अपने एजेंट को एक अधिकार दे दिया और वह अधिकार वापरने का जो हक है अभी उस एजेंट के पास में. Delegated divorce essentially is an understanding or an agreement reached by the husband and wife either at the time of marriage or subsequent to the marriage, by virtue of which wife is entitled to exercise the very same right of divorce to which the husband is entitled. If an agreement is in place, then she is not at the mercy of the husband. She can exercise the power given to her under that agreement in order to get herself liberated from a husband who has become tyrant, who has become cruel to her. जस्टिस V.K. अय्यर का 1971 का एक जजमेंट है, wherein he has went on to the various intricacies of Muslim personal law relating to marriage and divorce. And the words of wisdom with which he has come out with, that an in-depth study of the law of Islam relating to marriage and divorce brings to the fore the fact that here is a law which is progressive. Here is a law which takes care of the legitimate aspirations, legitimate expectation of both husband and wife. This is a law which ensures the matrimonial bliss and happiness and does permit dissolution of marriage as well, but with necessary riders, with a strict procedure of law and a practice to be followed. So in this small time which I had at my disposal, I have tried to make myself clear with respect to the law of divorce is known to Muslim law. So it is not that with the triple divorce, the husband has no more the liberty to have a unilateral dissolution of his marriage. He can, but is subject to all those precautions being followed, subject to the procedure which is laid down under the Quran and Sunnah. The exercise has to be for a valid reason, for a valid cause, and then it has to be in accordance with the procedure as laid down there. You won't be divorcing her instantaneously by resorting to triple talaq. You will be pronouncing divorce for the first time for the period of iddah. during the course of which divorce would be revocable. And even after the lapse of iddah, if the divorce is not withdrawn, you have the liberty of entering into a fresh marital tie. And to finish off this talk with, एक मेजर डिस्टिंक्शन जो सामने आता है इस्लामिक लॉस का और जो दूसरे लॉस प्रिवेलेंट है इंडिया के अंदर, कि if a husband, if a Muslim couple is to end up their marital tie, they are not formally required to take recourse to a judicial proceeding, so to say. उन्हें किसी कोर्ट में नहीं जाना पड़ता. अब इसका कारण क्या है? You see, there are two theories of divorce or two theories of dissolution of marriage which are in place. Muslim law believes in the theory of breakdown of marriage, which is now in currency irretrievable breakdown of marriage, which is not recognized as a ground of dissolution so far. But in specific cases, the Supreme Court has resorted to divorcing the couple or dissolving the marriage of a couple whose marriage is found to be irretrievably broken down. Day in and day out, it is a matter of our experience that the matrimonial litigation lingers in a court of law for years together. 10 years, even 12 years, or even more than that, with no outcome in sight in the near future. The parties lost their marriageable age, so much so that what they get in the ultimate analysis is a hefty amount of maintenance, and the parties have already fallen apart. A judicial decree validly and legally makes them separate from each other. तो कभी कभी ये भी ध्यान में आता है कि हमारे पति पत्नी किस बात के लिए कोर्ट में लड़ रहे हैं. क्या वो डिसोल्यूशन के लिए लड़ रहे हैं, क्या वो रेस्टिट्यूशन के लिए लड़ रहे हैं, या उनके लड़ने का कारण कोई और ही है. The bottom line of every matrimonial litigation is what? कोर्ट में आने के बाद में पति जो है वो दुनिया का सबसे गरीब आदमी बन जाता है, और पत्नी की निगाह में पत्नी की निगाह में पति जो है वो दुनिया का सबसे अमीर आदमी बन जाता है. I'm finished. So this is something one has to be realistic to the real things which are happening. I advocate a system of law where the judge ought to be given power to determine, after taking into consideration all the pros and cons of the matter, that whether this marriage is likely to live longer or whether it would be essential to put an end to the marriage. Ultimately, अगर compensation ही चाहिए husband से, तो एक टाइम का compensation दे करके husband और wife को एक दूसरे से अलग कर दीजिए. At least they can make a fresh beginning, they can have a fresh match, they can live happily for so to say a second innings खेलने के लिए उनके पास में समय प्राप्त हो जाएगा, उनके लिए कोई अवसर प्राप्त होगा. प्रॉपर्टी लिटिगेशन की तरह मैट्रिमोनियल लिटिगेशन को हम 10 से 12 बरस कोर्ट की नजर नहीं कर सकते. I believe, being an advocate practicing in the family court, a serious thought need to be given to this aspect of law. हमारी priority हमारे family system को protect करने की होनी चाहिए, और वो family system protect होगा if the husband and wife will have a blessed marital life. तो वो blessed marital life अगर समझ लीजिए पहली बार में possible नहीं हो पाई है, तो हम उनके ऊपर जो है दूसरी बार का दरवाजा क्यों करते हैं? I am thankful to the members and the office bearers of Bar Association of Family Court for having given me this opportunity to speak on the subject. I am sorry for having taken some time more than what was assigned to me. I express my gratitude to the President, to the office bearers and to the members of the Bar. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. May I invite Advocate Afreen Khan?
Hello all. I've been given 5 minutes to speak on maintenance. Well, I'll try. That's what lawyers do. So, we are specifically talking with the rights of Muslim women with regards to maintenance. So, because we've been talking about divorce, so let's begin with the maintenance that she is entitled to at the time of divorce and post-divorce. So, as we know, the law stands in India. We have the Shah Khan the landmark case of Shah Bano, and that was the first time we saw all the Muslim women across India on the streets for the first time, which made the government nervous to an extent that they had to come up with another law, as hasty as it was, but there was a law. There is a law. So the Shah Bano case mentioned about the maintenance to a divorced wife to the extent of her iddah. The interesting part to note in this maintenance is about the Kharchai Pandan and the Mawa Khori. So basically it is like I'm particularly amused by a judgment which actually considers a woman's right to, pan khori and mawa khori, which is her something that she has an interest in, or just short palan, jisko kehte hain. If you're particularly, you like cashew nuts and you are entitled to that, your husband has to provide you that. So that's one of the interesting takeaways from that law. That was on the lighter note again. Then we had the 86 Act, which then said, no matter what, the husband has to provide for a divorced wife till the period she gets married to any other person, irrespective that she has that lasts beyond the 3 months of iddah. This was challenged before the Supreme Court in the Danya Latifi case, which came in 2001. It then maintained it maintained the Shah Bano judgment, as in it went back to the Shah Bano judgment, saying that Muslim women are entitled to a maintenance from their husbands, ex-husbands, till the time of iddah. Now iddah is, as we know, it's around 3 lunar months or menstrual periods, or 3 straight months now as we practice. Then that is about the divorced women. But here we have to include all the women. So then we have the 125 of CRPC. And as we know that women, your mother, your wife, your children, unmarried, married if they are minor, if they are married and if they are major, they are still unable to maintain themselves, then you provide maintenance to all the women members of your family, and that is where they claim their stake in their right from you to maintain. The third thing comes in the the Domestic Violence Act. So when we are not talking about women who are divorced or the people who do not go to the criminal courts, they can file a civil suit under the Domestic Violence Act, and that is from section 9 to 12 that provides for domicile and maintenance and so on. And when we talk about maintenance, that not only talks about just certain amount of money being given to the woman, it basically means that she should be able to live a life of the status that she's been living in. Mostly the audience here is practicing advocates of the family court, and there are students, and I think I'm too young in compared to your experience, and also that I'm given 5 minutes, so I'm just trying to wind it short. Now, in considering that we are having this event in the light of the International Women's Day, and if you go in the history of International Women's Day, which is when again women in America came on the streets to claim equal pay or their right to work. And that means since then we started celebrating the International Women's Day. So today we have somewhere or the other kind of lost the essence of why we actually celebrate Women's Day. It's basically for the economic empowerment. And any woman will not be empowered unless she has the economic empowerment. So the whole idea behind maintenance, as Sir also explained that there was a time when marriages lasted because women would understand it to be certain thing. But today we understand that it is, in order to sustain or in order to live a dignified life, independent dignified life, it is important that we are economically empowered. So no matter what, no matter how much case we fight out in the courts, because the law, some way or the other, like as we've seen the recent pronouncement with regards to DV, that an earning woman is not entitled to maintenance, right? So you will have, like we as practicing lawyers, we do come across cases and judgments which will somewhere demoralize us as women, as lawyers, because that's not what you aim to go or get to when you are actually advocating a matter in the court. So that's more or less about maintenance of women, and the only thing is that Muslim women get a couple of more laws in their favor is because of all the movements that happened across India. Whether it worked in their favor or against them, whether it got politicized or misread or misinterpreted, at the end of the day, it was women who succeeded. The only thing that I wanted to also talk about is how the property rights, although it would be a long session if we talk or go in depth. So all these acts and the laws and the judgments have to be read with the property rights of women, which they get since the time of their birth, at the time of their birth. So as a Muslim woman, I am entitled to being a daughter to somebody, being a sister to somebody, and being a wife to somebody, and also being a mother to somebody. It doesn't stop there. Tomorrow when I become a grandmother, maternal or paternal, I have a particular amount of share in the property of whoever I'm related to. So when we talk about empowerment, I think it's many times what women do is, or we also see is that the domestic violence cases that we have is mostly against the husband. It's very unfortunate that domestic violence cases do not go against the maternal family side. And I think that's either that's a misreading or that's too much of emotional intelligence at play, or being biased that we do not like going to the courts when it comes to accusing our own family members, because then it is about blood and everything. And it's easier to sue a husband otherwise. So when we talk about, because I've been emphasizing on economic empowerment, I think that begins and is spread everywhere. And as long as we are able to claim that space, as long as we are able to claim and maintain the right, we as lawyers should be at it. And I think that is part of it. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. In such a short time, all the three panelists have covered talaq, marriage, and maintenance. It was really commendable to all, and I really thank Qazi sirs and Khan ma'am. May I request Advocate Sangeeta Mari, Treasurer of Family Court Bar Association, to come forward and felicitate our guests by presenting memento and suffering to Khan sir, Qazi sir, Qazi sir. May I again request Sangeeta Mari to remain here and felicitate Qazi sir with memento and sublime.
I would like to clarify one thing here. My surname is Hosseini and sir's name is Qazi. I'm Qazi by surname. मैं काम का काजी हूँ पहले का.
I stand corrected, sir. Hussaini sir. Again, may I request Sangeeta Mari to remain there and felicitate by presenting memento and bouquet, supplying to Khan ma'am. Thank you so much. We will be starting the next working session.